Sri Sairam. Our prayerful salutations at the lotus feet of our beloved Lord, Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. In fact, as soon as I commence sharing this experience of ours with you, a chill passes through the entire body, because if I am alive today and if I am able to speak before you, it is only Swami's grace, immense grace, that I am alive and kicking today, because he has given a second life to me, a fresh lease of life, in which this life is entirely dedicated to only Swami, Swami, only Swami. I am so thankful to Swami for giving this opportunity. As I had shared in one of the earlier episodes that I had shared with all the devotees, I had briefly mentioned as to how my dear son Anirudh, whom I lost in 2006 after battling for cancer for 2 long years, got our beloved Sathya Sai Baba into our lives. In fact, that's one of the most amazing stories that we would definitely like to share with all of you at some point in time, because that laid the entire foundation for our getting attached to Bhagavan so closely. Just to touch upon, we were very staunch devotees of Kanchi Shankaracharya, and we never knew Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, his miracles, his divinity before 2004. But post my son Anirudh, after having got detected with blood cancer in 2004 and did his entire treatment of 2006, we started getting glimpses of Swami. And also, when we correlated back to all the events, we could now firmly establish that Swami was already in our lives, and through Anirudh had firmly established Swami in our hearts. So we lost Anirudh on 24th of March 2006, and it was really a tragedy in our family which shook the entire foundation of our family. I was devastated, Vidya was devastated, but we had 2 sons, Atithaya and Anirudh was the younger son, and we lost him at the age of 10 years with blood cancer. But not before Anirudh had installed Swami into our lives. So exactly, 1 year later down the line, in 2007, what had happened was, I was just turning 40, and I was also promoted that year as general manager in Ispat Industries Limited. And as we turned 40, for all GMs, it was mandatory for all of us to go for health checkup. I was a very active sportsman in my younger days, and I was always fit, and I was maintaining a very healthy life. I had no complaints, absolutely on the health front, and fit and fiddle. And I used to work very extensively in the office as well. In the executive health checkup in 2007, it happened in the first week of July of 2007 when this happened. And in fact, me and Vidya both had gone for executive health checkup. All the checkups that were done were absolutely fine, but for one small issue. What they found was, in the X-ray of the chest, they found opacity in the heart, and the doctor had just remarked that please investigate opacity of heart. So that was something which was very bewildering, because this test was done, all these executive health checkups were done in Asian Heart Institute. So when this was mentioned, what we did was, and we consulted doctor, they said, why don't you do CT scan? You will be able to get the exact issue as to why this kind of opacity is there in the heart. So immediately we stay in New Bombay, Nerul. So what we did was, the nearest best point where in fact such kind of good test could be done was Gurmeet Diagnostics in Chembur. And we booked an appointment for CT scan, and we went there and had the CT scan done for the chest. When the CT scan was done, the doctor remarked that we happened to see a growth anterior to the lungs, behind the lungs, and we really need to investigate as to why it is there. And immediately he recommended that we should get a CT guided biopsy done. And he also said that it may be done immediately in the same sitting itself. This happened on 3rd of July 2007 when we went for the CT scan. So I immediately consulted my brother-in-law's brother, who was a very leading pediatrician, and our in Nagpur, Dr. Girish, and he suggested don't delay. He also talked to someone and found that Gurmit diagnosis is very good. No problem, we can do the CT guided biopsy there only, because it's supposed to be very delicate, because they would insert something and take up a small pinch from that particular nearer to the lungs. They immediately did that biopsy, and then in 2 days, third day, the 6th of July, the reports of the CT guided biopsy came. Dr. Anita Borges, and to our utter shock, and all of us really got shattered with that news. It was mentioned it was metastatic cancer, the seminoma. It was mentioned as metastatic seminoma, and it was really devastating, because we had just come out of the shock of losing our beloved son, and then I had also got this cancer, and it was malignant, and metastatic means it was dangerous. It was spreading. That is, metastatic is that stage. So it was very, very shocking. So what we immediately do is, there was series of tests that were to be performed after that, because then there has to be a CT scan to be done, the PET test and all those things. Somebody recommended to go to Hinduja for that, and a week was spent in doing all those tests for reconfirmation of the cancer. And so maybe around 12th of July, then we also went to a specialist, because it was mentioned as seminoma. Seminoma normally doesn't reflect in this kind of form anterior to lungs. It's a very rare thing, because it has to reflect in the form of a gonoidal seminoma. That is, the testicles would also get affected in the medical parlance. This is all because whatever they had discussed, we had assimilated. That's why I'm able to share with you. So we had consulted the doctor, and then they found out that it was not related to testicles. It was extragonoidal seminoma, and it's a very rare kind of seminoma, which is anterior mediastinal seminoma. And of course, it was malignant and metastatic, but the doctors said that there is no operation that can be performed, because it is very close to the lungs and it's very delicate. So you have to go in for the next natural process of treatment that has to be done. Once this was decided, I was very upset. In fact, because we had seen our son from close quarters for 2 years, in fact, series of chemotherapies, and then the blood platelets dropping in, the temperature shooting to 107 and stuff like that, the hemoglobin and the platelets dropping to near zero levels. Then he was having bone marrow transplant. All those things were playing in my mind, and I said, no, I am not going to take this kind of treatment and bother myself with this. Now, in fact, enough is enough. I am just going to surrender to God. And luckily, in fact, Anirudh had just planted Bhagawan into our lives, and my wife Vidya had just started believing in Bhagawan, and she was also doing some reading of Bhagawan, and she also used to go to some bhajan in a very primitive way, not fully involved. So what happened was that I said, I'm not going to do anything. So we decided to immediately go to Puttaparthi. That was our decision. In the meantime, we also consulted one of the vibronics persons in the Sai circle here, and he also suggested that when you go to Puttaparthi, please do meet Dr. Agarwal there, and also find out, because unconventional treatment also with immense faith in Swami would also help you in that particular fashion. So with this resolve, in fact, when everything was decided, we immediately on 12th, the entire set of tests and everything was completed. And when they said that there is no other alternative but to start with chemotherapy. So on 12th itself, on the night, we booked a flight to Bangalore. And even my parents, see, I just to give a background, my parents were very staunch devotees of Kanchi Shankaracharya for quite a long time, and my father was attached to the Kanchi Mat for a long time, right from Mahaperivals, that is the seer who lived for 100 years, Chandrasekhara Saraswati Swamigal, and then Jayendra Saraswati Swamigal, was attached. So we had no faith in, they had no faith in Baba, or to that extent they did not know about Baba at all. On the contrary, my eldest cousin sister Kamali, she was a very staunch devotee of Baba, and it is very unfortunate that when Anirudh's treatment started in 2004 and she sent the blessings of Bhagawan in writing with love Baba, signed letter and Vibhuti, we did not realize the importance. Yeah, interview. She got an interview, she got a Pada Namaskar, they got the Vibhuti and they sent, but we didn't realize the importance of Vibhuti. But that was the time when Swami had literally started getting into our lives. And then when we decided very firmly that no, I'm not going to take any treatment, we are going to go to Puttaparthi, we went there. And on 12th night we landed. On 13th, in fact, my father also, my mother joined from Chennai. They had come to Bangalore. And similarly, my in-laws, Vidya's mother and father, they stayed in Bangalore that time at Vijayanagar. So all of us started for Puttaparthi early in the morning on 13th of July 2007. We were very determined that we will have to get clear directions from Swami, blessings of Swami, before we do anything concrete for my treatment. I was mentally very clear. Vidya was equally clear on that. So we landed there on 13th. Since I had visited Puttaparthi only 2 times before, in the case of Anirudh, when in fact there was a desperate situation where there was no recourse and somebody advised me to go to Puttaparthi. So this was my 3rd visit, and in fact Vidya, having stayed in Bangalore for a long time for her education, everything, she had not visited Puttaparthi, and we had all gone for the first time for my cause to second time to Puttaparthi. First time we had gone with Anirudh, me and Vidya, when he was absolutely in the last stages, when the last treatment possible was supposed to be administered. And this was the second time that Vidya accompanied. This time we were very clear, unless we get directions from Swami, we will not do anything. So when we went we reached pretty early, we were in time, we stood in the queue, and then we got into the mandir, and as per the token system, both of us had written letters to Swami. I had kept letter to be given to Swami, and she had also kept letter with her to give to Swami. 13th morning, and people were saying, see, look, Swami sometimes comes, sometimes doesn't come. So that kind of tension was also there in mind. At the same time, there was a lot of pressure from my family members that once this is diagnosed as metastatic, you should go ahead with treatment. So they were not convinced about our way of going to Puttaparthi and then coming back and starting treatment. But we were extremely clear on that front. So I wrote a letter to Swami, she wrote a letter, we were waiting for Swami to come. Swami comes on 13th morning, just goes, passes us, nothing happens. He goes, sits on the dais, listens to bhajans, takes aarti, he leaves. On 13th evening, the same thing happens. Nothing happens. He does. Same thing. On 13th evening also, he does not. On 14th morning, Vidya gets the second row.
I got all the 3 days.
All the 3 days, in fact, all the 3 days, she used to get first row, second row, that kind of thing. And I used to also get in the first 4 rows only. 14th morning, also Swami, same thing. Swami comes. He doesn't look at us. He goes. So 14th morning gone, 14th evening gone. So 4 days, that is 4 morning, evening, 4 times gone. It happened to be on 15th morning. My parents, if they were aged, so my mother had some leg problem, her mother had arthritis, so they were saying, look in this entire crowd of lakhs of people, is Swami going to look at you and come personally and say that you will be cured and they will be giving directions? Do you think so? My mother was saying on the contrary that, see, Jayendra Saraswati Swamigal, the Kanchi Shankaracharya, was in Bangalore at that point in time. So, and he was supposed to be leaving on 16th back to Kanchi or Chennai. And she said, our Acharya is there. Why don't you please move to our Bangalore, have darshan? At least he will give darshan, he will give some kumkum prasad, and then with his blessings we can start the treatment. We were very clear. That day, with least interest, what they did was, they sat at the bottom, they came late, they sat at the back. And as usual, Vidya also on that day, 15th, also she got a good row, but nothing happened. In the heart of hearts, Vidya was murmuring and muttering. She has that that's habit of, talking with Swami, fighting with Swami, saying that, Swami, what you are doing, we only come for you, you are not looking at us. That kind of thing was happening. And on both the days, all the days, we were carrying our letters. And I'll also tell you the contents of the letter. I was very adamant. What I had written was, Swami, first, if you take my letter, it will be a blessing. I will get convinced that I have to go for some treatment for this cancer. That was what I had written. So that is the first condition. Second condition, I had also written, Swami, unless and until you clearly give me directions whether I should take allopathic treatment or vibronics, I'm not going to take treatment at all. I'm just going to surrender. And we were determined to be there only. That is the kind of state of mind that we had. All this had happened. 15th morning also, nothing happened, and extremely dejected. So 15th evening, in fact, we were under tremendous pressure from my mother. In fact, I was under tremendous pressure, saying that let's go, because Shankaracharya is leaving the next day morning, on 16th morning, so let us go and have a darshan of him. So I told my mother and requested, having come here, I am very clear, I have to take directions from Baba. That is the only thing. And Vidya was equally determined about it. In fact, I'll request that, Vidya, how you fought with Swami, that is something which,
Yeah, Sairam. Actually, that afternoon, on 15th afternoon, when my in-laws and my parents, they said they will come later, and so I left the room at 1:30 itself to stand in the queue. And on the way, I was just conversing with Swami. Do you think I have come to stay in your ashram? Do you think we have got plenty of time to relax here? I've come to ask you for a certain thing, for help, and you're not answering me. Now that my mother-in-law is also feeling that she has to go to her guru, so I'm going to, if you're not going to answer me today, I'm going to go ahead and see the other guru. This is what I was talking to him, and as I went and stood in the queue, every time I used to get third, fourth, second. So all these days, so this time I got token number 14. So I told Swami, very nice Swami, yeah, all these days for this 2, 3 itself you have not given me anything. Now in 14, what are you going to give me? So I just said that, and then I went inside, and I sat in the 14th as and the back. It was very quite back there. And as I was sitting, I was just in front of me, there was 2 ladies, and they were conversing with each other. And one of the ladies, she was having a crystal in her hand, and she was the other lady was praying for Swami. She had come for Swami to ask for a child, which she was not successful with test tube babies. This lady, she was telling her that see, even this time it will not be successful. You why don't you adopt? And this girl was crying a little. So I consoled her. I said, see, you've come all the way here. So see, everybody has got some problem. So let us pray to Swami. He'll take care, he will show you the way, I told him. So she immediately asked me, where are you from? The lady asked me, where are you from? And a little bit she said, I said, see, I also had a son with cancer, and I lost him, and now my husband is also again detected with a kind of a cancer, and we only have to pray to Swami to show us the path. So she said, you don't worry. She just heard this. By then the Vedas started off. So that means the Swami was leaving and he was coming. So everybody was silent, and
What she told to that lady also, you tell, in fact, that girl who was trying to conceive.
yeah.
Yeah.
She said, she just asked, when as soon as I said this, Veda started. So she told that girl, see, when Swami comes in the car, and when he gets down from the car, she was very sure that he was going to come in the car. So when he is getting down, just concentrate on him and pray. So you will get the answer. Pray what you have in your mind. You just pray, you will get the answer, she said. What she says is right. So you pray to Swami, she said. So Swami came. Swami, as he came, and he just passed, he came in the car, and he just crossed us. As soon as he crossed us and he went towards the gents side, this lady, she said, I have a message. She told me, she facing me, she said, I have a message from Swami for you. Swami says that nothing will happen to your husband. He is going to have a long life. You don't have to worry. So this much she said, and she kept quiet. And I'll speak to you later, she said. So then after that,
The lady, what happened to that lady? That girl who was trying to conceive?
No, Swami came, and Swami, he went to the gent side, came to the stage, and he got, as he was getting down, this lady was intensely praying. And as she was praying, there was a pigeon's this thing nest, maybe up in the near the chandelier, where above us. So from there one egg came and fell in front of her, and it just broke.
It broke.
So she immediately, it just came in front of her and fell in front of her. So she immediately, the lady said, see, you have the answer for this thing
from
Swami, that it will not be successful. You will have your own child, but it is not immediately. It will take some years, but meanwhile, why don't you adopt? So this is what she told her. And for me, as Swami, he got down and he went into the bhajan hall. So as soon as he went inside, she took
the entry room,
bhajan hall. So then at that time, this lady, she told me that Swami says that nothing will happen to your husband. He is going to have a long life. He is going to take care of him. And your son was not an ordinary child. He is there with Swami. He will also take care. And she described about Srinivasan as though she has seen him.
In fact, she was so very clear. In fact, when I frown, there is a cut here. In fact, so that was an injury at my younger age. And normally when I get temperamental, I frown, and this thing comes like that. In fact, that lady went on to describe this entire nature of mine as to how I was temperamental, how when you frown, the cut is visible, and my mannerisms, everything she was describing as though she was knowing me for a long, long time.
So she was a naturopath doctor actually at Parthi. She was staying at Parthi all alone. She introduced herself as a naturopath doctor. And she said that she described about him, his nature, everything. And she also told me that you don't have to, your elder son is, he'll be very fine, and even he will be taken care of by Swami. Swami says, ask her not to worry about him also. He will be looked after, and he will do very well in his life. And but Swami says he wants something from you. I asked her what. She said, he wants more love from you. I didn't understand at that moment what exactly she meant. So I said, what is it exactly? So she said, don't worry about anything. Swami is going to lead. He is going to lead, and he is going to take your lives, and he will teach you everything, and you just don't have to just be with Swami, and he will take care of everything. So yeah, and she also told me that another thing is, I said, see, my mother-in-law also had to go. We had to go out to meet the other guru. So she is telling me that you have to start immediately, and you have to go ahead with the treatment. I asked her, should I go with the treatment? She said, yes, you have to go ahead with the treatment. Of course, vibronics you can have as a side this thing, but you have to go with the treatment. It has got a good prognosis. And
Agarwal Dashma.
she asked me, in Agarwal,
And ಇದು sonale. What do you call? Yeah.
so she told me that you have to leave today itself, and you have to satisfy your mother-in-law also. You have to go and meet the other guru. And she said, you leave today itself and go ahead with the treatment. So that is how this was the
In fact,
message.
see, so what happened was, like, she was in this conversation. She got the assurance through an unknown lady whom we had never met in life. She had never met in life. So Swami was giving messages through that lady. She was an instrument in passing out that message, giving a clear-cut indication that Swami will take care of my treatment completely, and what was the expectation from her in this. And when Swami just crossed me, and I was holding my letter. In fact, that time, I was in the fourth row. The person who was accompanying Swami, he showed a hand to me and said, like this. So the letter that I was supposed to be giving, he got that letter. In fact, that person came, took the letter, gave it to Swami. Swami just glanced the letter, kept it in his lap, and did Abhayastha and went. I was so happy and so thrilled because Swami had taken my letter, and that was a clear-cut indication that Swami will take care. That kind of confidence had really come into me. And in fact, after this, when we all came out and assembled at one point, I was very excited. She was very excited, but we did not know what each other had the experience. Then I told that Swami took my letter and he did like this. So I was very happy. At the same time, she shared this, that unknown lady had given the assurances, and she was also very happy. So we were all happy. But this was a monkey mind. So Swami had clearly given indications that, okay, he has taken my letter, that assurance, but I had to get a reconfirmation about what kind of treatment I should take. So what I did was, we had directions to go to Dr. Agarwal. So immediately we rushed to Dr. Agarwal. We showed the entire files which we had with the medical history, and he glanced through all this, and he said, he please asked me to wait, Srinivasan, brother Srinivasan, just wait. He went inside, probably consulted his son because we had just returned from the US, and then he came out and said, Srinivasan, absolutely your prognosis is good. Don't worry at all. Please go ahead and take treatment in Hinduja. If at all Vibronis is required, this has to be only as a side treatment, but not necessary. The prognosis is very good. Go ahead with Hinduja, you will be completely cured. It was, we were all, rongte khade ho jate hain. In fact, it's hair raising because it was a very clear cut indication from Swami that you will be cured, number one. Number two, what treatment I had to take, that also he had clarified. So for me, all the doubts were cleared, and we were very clear that we had to go and take treatment in Hinduja. And luckily, we left the premises in the evening, okay, and reached there in the night. And next day morning, early morning, 5 o'clock, we went to Jayendra Saraswati Swamigal. We had a good Vishwarupa Darshana as he just came out, and in fact he blessed us. So my mother's desire was also satiated, that we had to take the blessings of this guru also, which was endorsed by that lady also, who had said, please go and meet that guru also. So it was like a jigsaw puzzle, that unknown people getting into our lives and just giving directions. It could be only divine Swami who could be working through all these people. And we got the blessings of Jayendra Saraswati Swamigal, and we returned back. And immediately what we did was, on the same day we came back to Mumbai. So it was 16th of July. 16th of July we stayed back in Bangalore, and 17th of July we came back to Mumbai. And on the day we landed, we decided to get admitted to Hinduja, because we didn't want to lose a single moment. Okay, so when we got into Hinduja on 17th of July 2007, which was our admission date, we got into a double room. See, we had requested for a single occupancy room, but that was not there. So we got into double occupancy room in the evening. And I was little agitated, because everything was a very anxious moment. We had seen Anirudh suffering in chemotherapy, what all happens, and what kind of turmoil everything would go through. So a single room would have been better. So they had started hydrating me in the evening as a preparation for the chemotherapy next day. And what nurse had told was, in case you get a single room in the morning, probably we would shift you there, and then the treatment would start there. But right now, in fact, all the procedures would start here in the same room only. So this is what had happened. And on 18th morning,
we got a single room, neighboring room, and we shifted, and he was ready, sitting, waiting for the sister to bring start for the chemo to start. So as before the chemo could start, I was reading one of the Swami's book. I was sitting in the sofa near the door and reading the Swami's book. So at that time, that the person who were staying in that room before previously, they had shifted to the opposite room, where that girl, she saw me reading the book, Swami's book, and from there she came, and then she asked me, "Auntie, are you Swami's devotee?" So I was not sure, because we were just recent devotees of Swami. So I was also not very little skeptical to say, yes, I am Swami's devotee. I couldn't say with authority. And I said, so then I shook my head. Then after that she said, "Auntie, Swami is already there in this room." She said this, and she said, "I have the Swami's Paduka worn by Swami himself. We have it. You can have darshan of that, Auntie."
In fact, this girl was related to Vishal from Bandra Samiti. In fact, who was leading a lot of youth projects for the water projects in Igatpuri and all. So this girl was Vishal's relative, and
so she took us immediately, and then she showed us the Paduka, and we took the Namaskar from there. And after that, we returned back. As soon as he returned back and sat, the sister came with the chemo medicine, and that is how his treatment began.
That is the first cycle of chemotherapy. This kind of Swami's physical presence in the form of a Paduka we witnessed, and then the treatment began. And it was a wonderful assurance from Swami that he is there. And his first visiting card was exhibited in the form of Paduka, where we had darshan of Swami, and we took his blessings, and the chemotherapy started. In fact, the chemotherapy went on very well. In fact, almost for a week I was admitted there, but they would monitor if the WBC counts go down or platelets go down. And luckily, the way I had tolerated the chemotherapy was very surprising, because all these levels were maintained, and that is something which was purely by the grace of our dear Mother Sai only. So after the first chemotherapy, then came the second chemotherapy. Second chemotherapy started on 8th of August or so, and then it went on. And on after the completion of the chemotherapy, I was discharged. I was discharged on 13th, and we came back on 15th of August. 2 days later, it was the Independence Day. In the morning, I was profusely vomiting and throwing out everything. And there was a time when, in fact, the pulse rate had started going down, and I was very disoriented and kind of feeling sleepy, unconscious. That kind of feeling was there, and I was very, very disoriented. And immediately Vidya had the presence of mind to call a doctor within our society, Dr. Rashmi Menon, who advised that please rush him. She gave some electrol or something, but in fact I was totally blabbering and I was not oriented at all. And immediately we rushed to Hinduja. One of our neighbors, Mr. Dikshit, drove us into Hinduja, and immediately we went there, and doctors did some tests and all, and they immediately said that sodium level had crashed. On 15th of August, my sodium level had crashed much below the desirable limits. Yeah, it had gone to as low as 112, whereas the normal limit is around 130. I had lost consciousness and I was totally disoriented. And doctors said that 48 hours we'll try our best. That is what they had said, to revive the sodium levels. Otherwise, he will be under critical care. That is the way it happened. Yeah.
So they, as he was admitted, they asked me to give salt even in water with the dahi, and he was not in his senses. And
She was trying to put that
then
and
after that,
force it in the mouth,
They sedated him and they made him sleep. And I was just reading Swami's book, and it didn't strike me that I was given at 48-hour I don't know, maybe because the Swami's presence or what, I don't know. I never felt the fear of saying that 48 hours is a time given to you, and I never felt I should call somebody for help and then tell them to come or help to come. I didn't tell this to anybody.
My parents were there at home in Nerul, and my sister was in Thane. Yeah.
My son was in 11th standard. So it didn't strike like me that I must call for help. So, but I was just reading Swami's book without any this thing. So as I was reading, then after that I finished. I was little feeling he slept off. So I just walked in the corridor. So as I was walking in the corridor, a lady opposite to our room again, she came out. Another lady. This is another lady. So she came out. She was wearing yellow sari and she was having a bob cut. And she asked me in Tamil. She asked me, "Who is that?" "Yar mother?" She asked. So I said, "It's my husband." What happened? So I said, "I don't know. They are saying some sodium has crashed, and they've given me time." And they said, "We let us see," and they are observing. He's kept in observation. So she said, "Whichever God you are holding on to, just hold on to him. He'll take care." So I said, "That is the only hope now I have," I said. So she said, "1 minute, you just wait," she said. She went inside and she brought a packet of vibhuti. And she said, "See, I have I've come for my sister. She is undergoing treatment, and she stays in Ghatkupar. And there is a house at Ghatkupar where there are lots of medicinal vibhuti. I don't know whether you believe in Baba, but they say it is a medicinal vibhuti. So lots of medicinal vibhuti comes out from the photo. So I have that vibhuti with me. So why don't you give this vibhuti to your husband? He'll become all right." So till then, I had never, the thought had not occurred in me that I must give him vibhuti. Nothing. I was just blank. So, but this lady is reminding me of the vibhuti, and she's saying, "See, this is Baba's vibhuti. So go and apply it to him. He will come back to normal. You don't worry."
So what she did was, immediately she took that vibhuti, she applied, and with in water, with the spoon she was mixing in that and trying to force it inside. Anyway, I was not conscious at all, but she was forcing little inside whenever it was possible. And see the miracle. The doctors had said 48 hours, okay, and I was disoriented, I was unconscious. But Swami's that vibhuti did that kind of miracle. Evening around 5:30, in fact, I was fully conscious, up, full of energy, started speaking, and that too with full orientation. And the doctors were immensely surprised that in the morning his sodium levels had crashed, and we were not expecting this kind of fast recovery. And he's much better. On the contrary, in fact, the same evening, the doctors permitted me to have even the solid food also, which was really unheard of, because this kind of, in the morning I was unconscious, they had said 48 hours, and in the evening I am fit as a fiddle. Wow. There are no words to express gratitude to Swami, because Swami absolutely resurrected that life, So this, in the second cycle of chemotherapy, this was one of the visiting cards that Swami showed, where he literally injected life back into me. So I can say with a lot of confidence that Swami has done this. So all this went on. Then I was discharged. In next second day I was discharged actually. I got admitted on 15th. They put me under observation on 16th, and on 17th I got discharged, and I was back home, fit, absolutely fit. Then I was readmitted, third cycle of chemotherapy. I had to undergo 4 cycles of chemotherapy. On 31st of August, I had got admitted for my chemotherapy again, third cycle of chemotherapy. Normally what happens is, for chemotherapy, there is a particular floor that is designated, correct, no?
16th floor.
16th floor is what we normally, that's the onco ward. Onco floor, and all the onco patients are lodged there. So on the 16th floor, we used to get the rooms there. And all the nurses, everyone were trained for onco. Onco, one of the problems is getting the veins. Getting the veins is a very typical issue, because they have to put in vein flow as soon as you get in, admitted, and then all the medicines would flow through that, and that has to be really regularly monitored. It was pretty painful. The entire process of undergoing this chemotherapy was a very, very painful affair. So on that particular day, instead of getting admission on 16th floor, we got admission on 12th floor, 14th floor. We got admission on 14th floor, which is not, it was not a regular onco floor. There, I had, by the virtue of the chemotherapy, the blood vessels normally collapse, and there are a lot of difficulties in getting the veins. The veins collapse, and then they find it very difficult to insert the vein flow. So I was screaming whenever they were trying to do that. It used to shift. So even after first chemotherapy itself, it used to shift. So twice or thrice it had to be punctured, new vein flow had to be inserted. So I was undergoing a lot of agony and trauma.
Every time they had to prick him for 8 to 10 times.
8 to 10
get
times
one vein.
to get one vein. And then again it would get displaced after one chemotherapy or 2 chemotherapy. And every time when they used to do that, literally in that kind of pain, I used to shriek also. Oh my goodness, that kind of thing.
And irritated.
And I was very irritated. In that particular cycle, I was very irritated. Probably, in fact, because the chemotherapy was having its toll on the body also. So I was very irritated in that particular thing. The best part in all this is that, in fact, she had a small player, and in fact, she used to listen to Swami's bhajans. That is something she used to do. And she used to play bhajans to me there. And she said, why don't you listen? Of course, I love any music or bhajans, but I was not in that frame of mind to listen to bhajans. She said, I used to tell her, why are you boring me with this? I'm in this kind of pain and you're thinking of bhajans. And I used to chide her, and literally, in fact, I used to scold her. For every small thing, I used to get irritated and scold her. So I was undergoing all this, and on 4th of September, in fact, it was a Krishna Janmashtami day, that is the Gopala day, where they do this Dahi Handi, and that was the day, and my treatment was going on. So on that day evening, from this 14th floor, there was a beautiful view of the seashore, because it is that beach, the Mahim side, so we used to get a good view of beach, and all the children were playing there, and the dahi handi, some people were jumping with joy and that thing, and she was enjoying that scenery there, and then lot of birds Yeah, where a lot of birds were there on the sky.
See, that time I was reading Anyatha Sharanam Nasti, that time. So as I was reading, I used, since we don't have any much knowledge about Swami, so in that I came to know that Swami used to give darshan in helicopters and so like that, so many things I was just reading. And then because he was also getting irritated, so it was the evening, I was just looking through the window, the seaside. We had the seaside facing, and so as I was looking, I was seeing the children playing, and the sun, beautiful sun setting, everything was so beautiful outside. And that day was a Krishna Janmashtami day. The At that time I told him, why don't you get up and see, look at this beauty, see how beautiful the sun is setting and that reflection on the sea, and the sea seems to be so vast, everything, his creation seems to be very everything limitless.
That
and,
azure blue sky she was
I was
mentioning.
just mentioning all that. I was describing him. Why, just get up from that bed and then just see outside. You will also feel enjoy this. So he scolded me. He started shouting. Today is Krishna Janmashtami. So I told him, see, many eagles were flying there, and one helicopter also flew there. So I said, see, just now I read like that in that book. So whichever God you like, you just call. Maybe he'll come in this helicopter and he will bless you. So, and see, there are today is also Krishna Janmashtami, and eagles, Krishna, this Gajendra Moksha, Gajendra, he cried out to Narayana. When he cried out Narayana, he came flying an eagle and he gave him moksha.
In the form of Garuda,
he came in Garuda and gave moksha. So here I don't see any Garuda here around, but I see lots of eagles. So maybe for us he will come in eagle also. So you just get up and then just see this, all this, I said. So he was in his own irritation mode, and he said, wow, can't you stop blabbering and will you shut up, he said. So I said, okay, fine. And then I just went back that
so
night.
That night in fact was all over. On the next day morning,
I was reading
she was reading in fact Vishnu Sahasranam. She was reading Vishnu Sahasranam, and then I was getting ready that day and I suddenly shrieked. And she was reading Vishnu Sahasranam, so she knew, because every time I shriek means the vein flow would have got disrupted or some pain. So her natural reaction was to go towards the door and call the nurse. Nurse, please come, karke. That was a natural reaction. She was trying to go to that direction. And then I said, Vidya, no, please come here. I was shrieking and I was excited about it. And she was wondering what has happened to this gentleman. In fact, she said nothing like it. But see, as I say, goosebumps, really, absolutely goosebumps. So I asked Vidya, just see what is there on this left side on the window screen. And you know what was there? It was one of the miracles that I would never forget in my life. There was a Garuda, I'm telling you, with that white patch. It is not an eagle, a Garuda, which was just tukur, it was just glancing. In fact, it was glancing at almost 5 to 8 minutes. It was steadily glancing, only as if Swami had come to give darshan in the form that the previous day she was mentioning. I was chiding her and I was saying, why you are blabbering? Will all eagles and Swami will come in this form? And here is Swami, Pratyaksham, it's coming in the form of a Garuda. So we were immensely blessed, absolutely. And that's when Vidya said, look, I told you, Swami can come in any form. Till such time, I was saying that I was gradually 20% Swami believer, 30% believer, that kind of thing. But this episode really shook me, and I almost like 80-85% I swung, and I started believing in Swami. So I was a 90-85% devotee of Swami firmly from that point in time, because one could never imagine a Garuda in that kind of place sitting, and that normally they don't sit on the window ledge and all. It was just staring and gave darshan and it went off. So this was one of the miracles that we witnessed, and the third cycle also eventually went off smoothly. In all these cycles, one of the grace of Swami, that I never had any problems about blood platelets dropping or WBC counts going down or hemoglobin going down. I had not a single transfusion, nor of neither of blood nor of blood platelets. Whereas I had seen in the case of Anirudh, so many times he had been to be infused, blood platelets, plasma, so many things had to be given. So Swami was literally, taking care of these minute aspects also when we surrendered to him. And third cycle was over, and then came the fourth cycle. The fourth cycle, in fact, I got admitted on 29th of September for the fourth cycle, and the doctor said that, in fact, in the meantime, they had taken a PET scan as a review, and it also showed a complete dissolution of the disease by that time. And they said, in fact, I think it should be all right. The fourth cycle would be the last cycle. After that, I think there would not be anything left for us to treat. So we got the confidence. In fact, that I had regained confidence. I had also got confidence on Swami now. I was a 90% believer of Swami at that point in time. So fourth cycle went on smoothly. They had administered all the medicines that was expected, and everything went on smoothly. I tolerated the medicines well, and on 4th of October, I was to be discharged. On the morning, nurse said, in fact, you can change your dress, pack up, and in fact, we'll make the discharge card. You can go to the counter, pay, and then you can leave. So Vidya was just, she happened to casually tell me, and she said, she was addressing me and said, this time we are not able to see the divine presence of Swami at all in any form or the other. I don't know what has happened. So she was little concerned about it, because Swami had not shown any visiting card in that particular this thing. Yeah.
So, Swami, I couldn't feel the presence of Swami that time. Like it got over, that chemo got over within 2 days, but somehow that connection I couldn't feel that time. So as the sister asked me to go and pay the fee, the amount amount, and she said, Srinivasan will get ready. You go and pay the amount and come. So as I was going, I was just conversing with Swami as usual. That Swami, I think this time you didn't show me any kind of this thing. If you had been there, if you had shown some little of your presence also, I would have been very happy. So this is how, as I went there to the counter. So they said,
it was on the ground floor, and I was supposed to change I had changed my dress. I had to go and sit below.
The papers had to come from the 16th floor.
Yeah.
So they said the papers have yet not come there. So you sit in the lounge, he said. So then I went and sat in the lounge, and just then I saw one couple. They were just entering, and they just passed me as I was sitting, and then they passed me and they went ahead. So as they went, I felt as though I've seen them somewhere. So I was just very, I was thinking where I've seen, maybe there could be some Swami's connection. So this was working in my mind, and that uncle also was looking at me, and he went and sat the other side. So then suddenly I remembered him, I seen him, and because I was new to Swami's fold, I was not very very regular in any this thing, but I had been twice to Ghatkupar auntie's house.
Meena Sundaram.
So, Meena Sundaram's auntie's house. So there, I remembered.
We had a very staunch devotee, Maithili Mami, who introduced us to Meena Mami.
Meena Mami. So she used to bring vibhuti from there. So there, I remember seeing him there giving vibhuti, distributing vibhuti. So I just thought, okay, I got some connection. I immediately asked, I think, uncle, I know you. From far distant only, I asked him, I think I know you. He immediately said, yes dear, come close dear, as though father calling a child. So very lovingly he called, and then I went near him. So I just said, uncle, my husband is admitted here. And just before I could tell anything much, so he said, I know everything, dear, I know. See, meet my wife. This is my wife. She is going to get operated tomorrow by Swami himself. We are coming straight from Puttaparthi. And see, and Swami has materialized Vibhuti and given to her. Maybe that Vibhuti is for you also. Why don't you give her? He told his wife. And he asked me, if you have any paper with you in your bag, you can take some for your husband. So I was so happy. I was so thankful to Swami for sending Vibhuti from Puttaparthi, from materialized Vibhuti from his own hands.
The person was none other than Harshadji Vadhani, who used to be at Meena Auntie's place, helping with the medicinal Vibhuti distribution. He was exclusively doing that seva at Meena Auntie's place.
Yeah.
He is such a blessed soul, really blessed soul.
So then immediately I just searched for some paper, but I couldn't find any paper. I got one pamphlet which was given to me by Phadke uncle some time back, and I had that pamphlet with me in my bag, which was some Ayurvedic treatment which he gave me. And I took that pamphlet. I said, Uncle, this is what I have. So, and
in the meantime, I had also come down with all the papers.
So then I took out the So I took out the pamphlet and then I showed it. I saw the pamphlet from the back, and I just saw this with the pujari, and I opened it from the back. I opened it and I held the paper like this, and he poured some vibhuti in this, and after that I just folded it like that only, and I kept it like this back in my bag. So then after that I went up. I told him. He was ready with his dress changed, everything, costume changed. So then after that I said, see, you've got, you're so lucky, you've got this thing, prasadam from Swami himself. So as we went down, we saw the uncle, and then after that we left in the car, we sat in the car, and I gave him the prasadam to him. So he took the prasadam in his hand and he opened it from the front side.
I opened it from the front side, okay. Now the moment I opened it from the front side, we could see Swami, Shirdi Sai Baba in Abhaya Hasta. This is the photo, in fact, which I opened. I was so happy. Look, one, Swami, his materialized vibhuti, in fact, I have got in the fourth cycle, which we were earning to get, and I wanted to witness his miracle or divinity. So we got that. And then the Swami Baba in Abhayasta. So I was very happy, extremely happy. And then we opened and we sat in the car, applied vibhuti, and then I just closed it like this, and the top flap opened like this. And this is exactly where Swami not only ensures that he's always with you, but the kind of confidence that he gives, his final stamp with full definitiveness or like absolutely like firm stamp he put. What is written in this is, goodbye to illness, welcome the wellness. It's a kind of proclamation from Swami that I have cured you completely. So you have nothing to worry, goodbye to illness. So that was in 2007, on 4th of October, Swami proclaimed, he gave that declaration that you are cured completely. Okay, and dear all my brothers and sisters, devotees, there are no words that we can express as to how Swami takes care of each one of us. This kind of, when you surrender and he shows his presence at every point in time, he takes care of you at every point in time, and finally for some doubting jacks like me who were bordering on the ledge, how he gradually infuses, the faith in small doses, and finally, with this kind of stamp, as soon as he proclaimed goodbye to illness, welcome the wellness, I can only say that today, if I am alive, if our family is happy, only it is totally owed to Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, because he gave this second life. And at that point in time, I became 100% devotee of Swami, completely surrendered to Swami. And as I speak today, in fact, I can tell with confidence that the days as it progressed, every day has been a reinforcement of whatever faith we had on Swami, I had on Swami. And this life, after the office activities, is always absolutely engaged in only Swami, Swami, Swami. I have nothing else. In fact, in the last episode, I had mentioned that Swami had blessed, when I was given an opportunity to ask for something, I'd asked for, bhajans. I should keep on singing his praise and I should keep on doing bhajans. That is exactly what I have been doing, Nama Sankirtanam, to the extent that sometimes I do irritate my Vidya also, that, can you stop at some point in time? But that is how Swami takes care of us so intimately when you surrender. Bhagwan, we are truly immensely thankful that you have given this lease of life to me, and we only sincerely pray that you continue to be with us, guide us for always, undertaking all the activities that you want us to take and further your mission, please. I am, in fact, वर्ड्स फेल अस एक्चुअली. हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना, कृतज्ञ है. इनफैक्ट कृतज्ञ है. इनफैक्ट what we really earn in our lives with Swami's presence, we have been feeling that, and subsequently Swami's presence has been felt at all stages in our life. So if you look back, we can connect what had happened during Anirudh's treatment in 2 years, subsequently what happened to me, and what has been happening further also. Swami's presence is always seen. With this, we conclude our experience sharing. I would just like to mention one thing. Whatever is in my heart, I always pour out, and most all the time Swami has been, making me sing his glory through words given by him. And as such, to conclude this, experience sharing, I would like to offer what Swami has given to me as a first bhajan, that was his composition. I would just like to offer, and that expresses exactly what Swami means to me. मेरे प्राण तुम हो, मेरे श्वास तुम हो, मेरे प्राण तुम हो, मेरे श्वास तुम हो, विश्वास तुम हो, एहसास तुम हो, विश्वास तुम हो, एहसास तुम हो, मेरे प्राण तुम हो, मेरे श्वास तुम हो, मेरे जीवन की डगर तेरे हाथ में है, मेरे जीवन की डगर तेरे हाथ में है, इसे पार करा दो मेरे हाथ थम कर, इसे पार करा दो मेरे हाथ थम कर, प्रेम साए मेरे प्राण तुम हो, प्रेम साए मेरे प्राण तुम हो, करुणा सिंधु मेरे श्वास तुम हो, करुणा सिंधु मेरे श्वास तुम हो, मेरे प्राण तुम हो, मेरे श्वास तुम हो. Thank you, Swami. मेरे प्राण तुम हो. You are my life. मेरे श्वास तुम हो. You are my breath, Swami. You are our everything, Swami. And as long as I continue to breathe, I continue to breathe. Sai. Swami, please be with us always with your protective grace. Om Sri Sairam.